Welcome to Louisiana Heartbeats. I'm Sudie Landry, your host for today. And today our guest is playwright, novelist Dennis Ward, who is from Opelousas. And he is here to talk about Mademoiselle Gigi, his first novel of the series that he'll be working on. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sudie. Thank you for having me.
I am so excited. I was really blessed with the book that you let me have to read, and I really enjoyed it. And before we get into it, I just want to tell people out there that I had appreciated the many different kinds of genres, but I had never read a genre like you did. And your language that represents the era that you're writing about, the scenery, I felt like I was actually in Paris, and this is probably the closest I'll ever get. But I would love for you to tell us why you have written this series.
The book was inspired after I wrote a play in 2008. After being friends with Gigi, I heard many stories about her having the first gay cabaret nightclub in Lafayette by the name of Chez Giselle. He was in the decades of the 60s, 1970s. And this club was pretty awesome. It had cabaret acts. Michael Doucet, as a teenager, actually performed there, his first gig with his band Beau Soleil. Clifton Chenier played there. Wow. There were quite a few renowned national groups such as the Smothers Brothers, the Everly Brothers, the Fabulous Boogie Kings, and Sonny and Cher even visited.
Wow,
there.
you really had a lot of people interested in this.
It was a club that was very inclusive. Gay, straight, black, white, didn't matter what your nationality, everybody was welcome.
You know, Dennis, the most important thing that touched my heart was the fact that you described this young lady who, no matter what situation she was in, she was so positive. And when she loved someone, she loved them deeply. Unconditional love is so important. And the fact that she wanted to help whoever needed help, that's what's really touching in this whole story. And she was a survivor?
She survived the Holocaust. A lot of her families didn't survive. And unfortunately, she lost her grandfather, who she was very close to. And I think, though, she transcended that experience later in life with the club in Chez Giselle, because at that time it was very different for gay people in employment, with their families, in society. It isn't the same as today at all. And she provided one place in Lafayette that was a safe haven for gay people to come and be entertained, have a good time. And she kept a very tight control on actually who entered the club with a system of pink membership cards.
Very protective, too.
She had to actually be recommended by somebody, because at the time, you could be losing your job, your employment, your housing. So it was during this time of writing the play that I actually heard a lot of stories about Gigi as a young teenager in France. And I was inspired to write a book about the club years and maybe a few chapters about the war. Well, a few chapters turned out to be a 350-page book.
So this is Mademoiselle Gigi.
And it is a journey that at the end of the war in 1945 that she met a Cajun soldier from Opelousas, Louisiana. And her idea of life in America was formed by the American movies in Paris. And everybody was rich in America, everybody was glamorous, everybody drove big cars and lived in nice houses. So when she came over, She went to Galeries Lafayette in Paris and bought a wardrobe of the finest Parisian couture, and she arrived in the spring of 1946 hoping that she'd be as glamorous as any woman in Uplands.
I know. I read that in the book, and I'm thinking, I hope she wasn't too disappointed. But I know she was shocked.
Yeah, that one passage where her friends ask her, well, how big is Uplands?
I know.
It's not as big as Paris and New York, maybe half the size.
I know, you wrote that down. I'm like, wow, that was a description that was different.
So the journey started actually in 2001.
Okay.
I met Gigi in a French restaurant in Breaux Bridge one day. She liked to go there for bouillabaisse. And this car peeled up, and this little woman got out, and she was animated. She was stylish. She was vivacious. I said, who is she? I wanted to meet her. So we had a long French lunch, 4-hour lunch with bouillabaisse and champagne, and that started things. We had a deep friendship for 7 years.
A personal relationship, true friends, and now you're writing these books to honor her memory.
Yes.
And plays.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
One play, Chez Giselle, and it's going to have its third production this month. Opening March 27th is the opening. And it's also a celebration for the first inaugural Gay Pride Festival.
That's right, that's what I read, yes.
And I'm so honored that they chose Chez Giselle to open the festival. The play will go on and run for 3 weeks. But the play, if you've ever seen the play, it's a marvelous play. But this new play is directed by Rick Rowan, produced by Ted Richard. And from what I've seen, it's almost like seeing a new play. It's like seeing it through fresh eyes.
So it's being performed in our local area, right
at
here.
Cité des Arts Theater.
And that's happening, I see here, premieres March 27th, the 28th, the 29th, and 30th, and it goes into April also.
To April 11th.
So if people want information, they can check out the screen that will show that website or even the telephone number.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. They can contact Cité des Arts.
And so I understand that that our local area has hosted quite a few different things, and this is one of their big events, I understand. And you have a lot of great support from this area, also with Cité des Arts. I'm talking Christy Letty.
Yeah, Christy Lecty, when I first tried to produce the play, I entered it in a theater festival in 2008. And I got a cast together, and as theater goes, the cast fell apart. So Giselle was very sick. She was dying of cancer at Lafayette General. And, well, I took the play to Lafayette General with some actors, and we did a staged reading in her room on the cancer ward of Lafayette General, attended by family and friends, nurses, a few doctors, and even some housekeeping staff.
Wow.
Packed the room. And Giselle was thrilled. She was actually getting better. Something about the spirit of...
Well, we have so many people around you that love you, you can't help but feel better.
Yes.
And that's wonderful. Did you take any footage? Did anybody take any pictures for future?
I think some pictures were taken, yes, of that day.
Well, you smile when you talk about her, so I know she's really true and dear to your heart.
When you were with Giselle, she always made you feel special, like she made you feel the best you were. And if you started bonding with her, then you got into the layers of Giselle that of her humor. Her sense of humor was tremendous, developed since she was a child, because she came from a family of actors and comedians
I didn't know.
and magicians in Paris.
Grandfather
performed at the Folies Bergère in Paris. So this tradition was off the cuff for her. It was a way of life.
I loved the comments that she would give people, and that was a good way of brushing them off. I'd like to borrow some of those sometimes. It was just spontaneous. It was like,
Yeah.
and no one was offended.
No.
They got the message, you know. It was just wonderful. I enjoyed your book. Thank you very much. I really did. And I do look forward to reading the second book.
Thank you. A lot of people have told me that. This book so far has only been out a few weeks.
Yes, you've been busy.
And since December. And I'm getting emails daily from people from Europe, from Canada, from Japan, from all over the States, and everybody loves Gigi. It's like I love Lucy, I love Gigi.
Yes, it looks like that. It sounds like that. I'm really amazed. I'm serious when I tell you, Dennis, that normally I probably would not have even read a book like that because history was not my exact expertise in school, even though I made A's in it. I had to try real hard. But I didn't have to try real hard to get through your book. When I got the book through the mail that day, when I told you and I sent an email, I read it every day, some of it, so I could get to, I wanted to be able to truly say I had read the book, and I did. I learned a lot about her. And I can relate to a lot of what she, and how she responded and how she loved people. Because myself, I had this beauty shop, and people would tell me that didn't matter, what their lives were like, that they could come in there and they felt safe, and they could talk about anything, and they knew they could trust me. Trust, respect is an honor to know that you have that connection, and to me, Gigi did. She loved everybody. She made a safe haven for the people. She protected them, and they likewise, I would say, probably like you now, honoring her memory.
Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that. Means a lot.
I mean it.
There was something that struck me after writing the book, that she went through loss. There's actually quite a bit of loss that she suffered during the war. And I think a lot of people might have been bitter, carried that bitterness through their lives, but not Gigi. Mm-mm. She was a force. And I think she looked back at her family history, that they came from Russia, and they suffered in Russia during the time of the pogroms, which were state-sponsored terrorism of Jewish communities. We all saw Fiddler on the Roof. We all know how Jewish families had to migrate out of Central Europe, and they went to France and England and the United States. And her family ended up at the turn of the 20th century in France. And so her family suffered then. They put their trust in France and then suffered the Holocaust.
I know.
And then she comes to America, and she opens eventually a cabaret nightclub, and one of her employees is murdered. Well, when you look at this timeline and see that the pogroms in Russia, the Holocaust in Europe, the murder of someone she loved dearly, a friend, in her nightclub, boy, that wasn't enough to make you bitter. But she didn't.
No, that was what was so amazing, was that she was not bitter. But we do have a choice.
Yeah.
We have a choice. We either let our past control us, or we look toward a better future. Well, go ahead, and I'd like we've shared what Gigi was a lot like. How are people, are they surprised that you are honoring her this way, and have you had people contact you since you have published this book from people who may have known her as well as you?
Recently, the book was sent as a Christmas present to a producer-director in San Francisco, and they also sent in the package a Chez Giselle t-shirt of the play.
Wow.
And the man has over 40 years experience in New York and San Francisco, directing, producing, and he absolutely loved the book. And he's coming to our production.
He is. He's actually, wow, that's wonderful.
And he asked to read the script of the play, and he read that too. And he has decided that he's going to produce the play in San Francisco next year on the professional stage, which, Sudi, for your audience, in terms of like community theater, we produce a play in Lafayette for a budget of under $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
And in the professional world of theater, it's more like maybe $100,000.
Yeah, I can only imagine, but I've heard that. Yes.
So it's a great honor that the play is moving to a national stage. What type of visibility and impact will occur?
Well, it's already happening. It's just starting to happen. Let's talk about your other writings. I understand you have a Hatter's blog, and on that blog, you pretty well share with people different things.
Right. I'm kind of the David Sedaris of Acadia.
That's all right. That's good.
I really like writing comedy. I had a play produced in 2011 called The Roadkill Diner, a musical comedy, and it was a hit. I'm following it up with a sequel to that play called Big Daddy's Last Dance at the Stiff and Moody Funeral Home.
Wow. Okay.
And again, it's a comedic farce. I just enjoy satirizing and looking.
Well, now that we're on this topic, I would like to know where you got all your experience. Did you go to college for this? Did you just get experience on the streets, or you just jumped in and said, let's go for it, or what? How did you come about being such a successful playwright, novelist, author? That's what I was told by other people. Okay, that's not. That's what I know.
Wow. That's a lot to live up to. No, I've been very blessed in my life. I feel like the people I've encountered, my journey in life with education. I attended the University of South Florida for business, which is not writing, but I've always been writing. Always in my life I was writing. And sometimes it went on the back burner, so anybody who's writing and putting it on the back burner, take heart, because keep those pieces, because one day those little notes and humorous escapades can turn into short stories, plays, and novels. That's what happened to me. The Roadkill Diner actually was written on scraps of paper that went into a short story that went into a play.
You see that?
And probably will become a book.
What was the first thing that you wrote? That you may have been a script in a play, or did you author a book, or did you do articles?
Well, I grew up in a very rural environment, and we didn't have TV much. We weren't allowed TV. We had our friends and cousins, and I was fortunate to have these cousins that liked to write, and so we wrote plays to entertain ourselves.
So you were built in automatically writing plays, scripts.
We actually wrote a play that we were on the road of a city bus, and the city bus actually stopped full of writers and perused our play for 15 minutes on its route. Yeah, so it's things like that I think you sometimes just.
Well, I'm laughing with you because the crew that is actually the crew that's actually taping the show for us, the director actually is and has written scripts, and his desire is to go through those different channels, and they have so many ideas that I am gifted and blessed with the crew that's actually taping the show. And when you're talking, they are a constant rolling script happening 24 hours.
Wow, that's great.
They entertain people on the city bus. They entertain people while they're drinking coffee upstairs here.
That's
Anywhere they
solid.
go. Creativity. And that's what you sounded like when you just said that. So, Reggie, I know you and Kenneth over there is listening, and Barry, this is why I wanted y'all to meet Dennis Ward.
That's great. Well,
So what is going on with other writings? I know this is the first.
yeah, my
Wow.
first book, and I'm halfway finished with my second novel, which is the sequel to this. It begins with Gigi arriving in New York Harbor after she's married the Cajun in Paris, and she goes through 2 marriages over a period of about 15 years. And she finally figures out, after 2 marriages and having 5 sons, that maybe marriage isn't the route, the best route for
She
her.
finally got a little negative.
And she really ends her life, I think, knowing that her sons are what matters to her the most, and her friends.
Well, I know you're an author, and I know that this is the first of the different in the series of Gigi. Did Gigi herself ever write anything that you know of, as far as literary?
The family is very big with genealogy,
Okay.
and that was a tremendous asset in writing her story, because they kept photos, records, diaries, letters that went way back to the 1940s.
We are in the last 3 to 4 minutes of the show, and that's what I want you to share. The things that's remaining, people who actually helped you with all these details, because it was like you had to go
Yes.
to all these places, or you had to know somebody.
I was very lucky that, like I say, her family is very big into genealogy, but I was also lucky that there are still living people in their 80s with sharp minds that contributed, people that were living in Lyon, Paris, and Louisiana that I got to meet, and who contributed tremendously. The book wouldn't be as interesting without that contribution.
I saw you as traveling all over the world and to Paris and all over Paris to be able to write this book until I read, of course, you know, the credits you gave to the people who you thanked for helping you.
It was.
That was amazing to have that
was.
many people still able to share with you.
I want to really thank Cité des Arts. They supported me with my plays, my inaugural book launch. They support me in every way, and I hope people know about this wonderful place, Venue for Plays, and support it and come out to see Chez Giselle. You will be amazed at this play. This play may someday, these series of books and play, will probably make a mark on Lafayette. The same way that maybe Garden in the Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil made on Savannah. There will be a mark left that this happened in Lafayette, and we can take that forward for tourism.
And I want to thank Linda Doucette, who went out of her way at an event we were doing for the Writers Guild, for introducing me to you.
Oh, yeah,
And
Linda's
I am honored
great.
that you were able to come on the show, and now I have to close the show out.
Well, thank you.
But there's a lot of
again.
areas I'd love to know more about, so perhaps in the future we can get together again.
I would be honored.
I am so excited. I can't wait to get the second book. Seriously, let me know where and when. And you've been watching Louisiana Heartbeats, and I'm City Landry, and today was my guest, Dennis Ward, out of Opelousas, Louisiana, who has started a series of novels based around Mademoiselle Gigi Carrington. What is her name? Giselle?
Giselle Gigi Carrington.
Who recently passed away, I think in 2008.
2008.
2008. And he has such affection for her, and the memories are wonderful that he is sharing it with us in his book, Mademoiselle Gigi. And his second novel will be coming out soon, and it will be Shez.
Chez Gigi.
Well, Gigi. Sorry, that's where I can't talk French. Say it again. Say it again.
Chez Gigi.
So I want to encourage you to watch every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. It might be just you or Dennis Ward that we're showcasing. Until then, we'll talk to you later.